Alright, the long-awaited Dark Magician Girl Ultimate Collector's Guide is here. I was working on this for like a week now, trying to collect every single card, every single artwork so that I don't miss anything. And this is the fourth installment in the Ultimate Collector's Guide. If you're interested in seeing the others, check out the playlist right here. But anyway, the Dark Magician Girl is one of the most beloved cards. It's arguably right up there with Blue Eyes White Dragon. It has an incredible waifu tax whenever it appears in any set. It is absolutely one of the most collectible cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at every single Dark Magician Girl artwork, as well as every single rarity that those artworks come in. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, before we start off, I just want to give a little shout out to our sponsor, who is me. If you guys want to support the channel and you guys want to see more of these videos, make sure you support me by going to strictlysealedinc and grabbing your TCG accessories so that you can bling out your collection to the next level. And if you want to support me further, I have a Patreon. For $5 a month, you get early access to my videos, as well as some extra perks like giving me insights on what kind of product you want to see, like for my binders as well as sleeves. Plug aside, now let's get into the Dark Magician Girl Ultimate Collector's Guide. So the first thing we're going to start off with is the Dark Magician Girl anime art. So this is the classic artwork we saw in the anime, we saw in the manga, and it's actually the artwork where she makes her first appearance in the card game as well. The card debuted in the TCG with Magician's Force, probably one of the best sets in the Duel Monsters era. I would rank it probably second or third, right next to Meta Raiders and Legend of Blue Eyes. And this debuted as a secret rare. It's coded MFC 000, and this debuted in 2003. It released in first edition as well as unlimited as a cheaper alternative. This was one of the few cards in the TCG that was released only in North America. Magician's Force never got a European release for some reason, so no other region has the Dark Magician Girl except North America. This is actually a massive deal because to think that the rest of Europe did not get DMG until later releases is actually mind-boggling. This is one of the most popular cards in the game, and yet it was only for North America. I still haven't figured out why Legacy of Darkness, Pharaoh's Servant, as well as Magician's Force never got international releases. I would love to know if you guys have any input or any information. But anyway, this is the most expensive version of Dark Magician Girl in the TCG, and it is by far the first card that you must collect if you're trying to collect all of them. The next best thing in terms of this anime artwork and secret rare is the Asian English version. This card is not TCG, however, it is very sought after and very expensive because it has the reverse foil secret rare. If you don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to reverse foil, check out this video here. I comprehensively covered what it is as well as every other card that it affects in the TCG. But back to the Asian English version, however, this card pretty much doubles the TCG variant because it's just way rarer, and a lot of people that collect DMG want both versions. Another copy that I highly recommend you collect in secret rare is the Legendary Collection Yugi's World First Edition European version only. So this card came out in North America as well as Europe. However, I only recommend the European version as the hollow foil pattern is unbelievable in that. It looks absolutely magnificent. It's super classy. I highly recommend it, while the North American looks cheap and very plasticky. But I do know that the European first edition copy goes for a ton of money. So if you want a cheaper alternative, what you can go for is the unlimited North American version. That one was released at a later point. Konami had a chance to fix its secret rare foiling. This version is not a cheaper alternative to the Magician's Force version in my opinion. This one is actually series 4 or 5 layout. So what this means is the card image is actually significantly bigger than the Magician's Force. I personally think it looks better than the Magician's Force version, and it's much cheaper, so it's a great budget option for those who are looking. The last secret rare alternative that you can go for other than Magician's Force is the Speed Duel variant. This card is absolutely gorgeous. The only problem I have with it is that it has the Speed Duel stamp in the text box. I'm not really a big fan of it, and I'm not a big fan of the fact that it says also Speed Duel right above the text box as well. It's double stamped there. I don't understand the reason for that. Other than that, it is absolutely a killer version for Dark Magician Girl. It looks absolutely incredible, probably in my opinion better than Legendary Collection and Magician's Force. Like personally, in terms of how much the hollow foil shines, I think it's unbelievable deal at 15 bucks or something like that. I'd highly recommend it for any budget collector. The next version I want to talk about is the ultra rare. This one is plain and simple. There's only one release. It was the Rise of Destiny special edition boxes. These special editions come with 3 Rise of Destiny booster packs. However, there is a promo card in the box as well, and that has a 1 in 4 chance of being the Dark Magician Girl. I highly recommend this for any budget collector. The colors on this card are absolutely perfect. This was like peak printing for Konami. They absolutely crushed that printing, and in my opinion, I think it's an incredible budget option. I think it goes for like 20-30 bucks, maybe even less. Absolute steal in my opinion, and it's incredibly unique because it's the only ultra rare printing of this card. That card was released in 2005, so it's technically the second release of Dark Magician Girl in the artwork ever. Next up, there has not been a hollow foil printing of this card for another 9 years, so we go all the way to 2014 and we have the premium gold version. I highly recommend we stay away from this. It looks absolutely terrible. It is hard to grade. However, I personally think it looks atrocious. Your collection is better off without it. And thank God there's no cheaper alternatives because it doesn't get worse than that one. The next rarity that I want to talk about is the super rare rarity. This one had 2 printings. The first one being Speed Duel Tournament Pack. I pretty much would recommend you just skip that copy. Like, I don't really think it's that important. However, if you're interested in completing everything, then it is a copy that you have to get. The one that I do recommend you pick up as a super rare is the one that was released in 2023 in the Asian English structure decks. The reason I say that this is a must-have pickup is because this is the only TCG card or the only English text Dark Magician Girl that is completely uncensored. So you get the full boobs as well as the pentagram and everything else that the original artist had in mind. It is incredibly cheap. I think it's like $15 or something like that. Absolutely must buy. I think in my opinion, it's a staple in any Dark Magician collectors. Next up, we're gonna go up in price a little bit to some higher rarities. The first copy we're going to be talking about is the Ghost Rare. The Ghost Rare was released in 2022, and this was from Ghost from the Past 2. The printing quality is not very good on it. However, it is the only Dark Magician Girl we have in the TCG that's in Ghost Rare. If you're gonna pick it up, you're gonna have to go with that one. And then the other super high-end copy that I want to talk about is the Magnificent Maven's Pharaoh's Rare. I actually hated on these cards a lot until I saw them in person. They are absolutely gorgeous, bro. Like, they look incredible. I highly recommend you pick that one up if you're a high budget collector. I think that this card is an absolute staple. I think the rarity fits extremely well with the Dark Magician Girl being a Pharaoh card, and it's super hard to pull, so it's extremely valuable in a collection binder as well. It's probably one of the best releases that they released in the past 4 to 5 years in terms of collectible cards. I highly recommend it. Now, the next set of cards is the only one where I'm going to make an exception to the rule where it's not going to be hollow foils, but I think it's a cool enough variant that in my opinion warrants collecting. What I'm talking about is the Duelist League Rare Dark Magician Girl. So these cards were handed out in 2014 to Duelist League attendees, and the cards have started to fetch a pretty penny. There's 4 different variants of these rares. It's not just a regular silver text, they're actually colored. So there's blue, red, green, and purple. And they all go for around like $100 to $200. Very hard to grade, very collectible, highly recommend them. So those are like the cardboard cards that have Dark Magician Girl on them. However, they did just release a 25th anniversary stainless steel Dark Magician Girl variant. And this one is like literally a metal card. It's 150 bucks. You can find it still available to purchase as of the making of this video. And I think it's a great card to pick up at 150 bucks. I think the acrylic alone is probably like $50. So I think it's a great display piece for budget collectors. There is actually another stainless steel copy of this Dark Magician Girl that was released in Japan, but this was around 4 years ago in 2020, and this card was limited to 10,000 copies overall, and it is significantly more expensive. However, it retailed for half the price that this one retailed for. So that one retailed for I think $80. I think it's like 500 bucks or something like that. This one is retailing for $150, but I don't think it's gonna move from that price for a long time. One version of this artwork that has not released yet or like been announced at all, but I do believe, or at least I have faith, that this card will come to the TCG is a quarter century secret rare version of this anime artwork. We have not had a QCR Dark Magician Girl yet. They did announce Quarter Century Bonanza, which is supposed to have a lot of cards that are nostalgic, so I believe it should be in there. If they end Quarter Century secret rares without giving us a DMG, it would be a travesty. But that's pretty much it in terms of the anime cards. There is one more section that I want to add in here, which is extras that I believe you should know about as a Dark Magician Girl collector. So the reason that these are in extras is because they are not really TCG, they're not really English cards. They're extra variants that I believe are extremely worthy of being in your collection. The first one being G3-11. There's two different versions. There is the rare and then there's the secret rare. The rare is limited to, I believe, 2,800 copies, and then the secret rare is limited to 400 copies. The 400 copy secret rare is the creme de la creme of any DMG collection. You cannot have a Dark Magician Girl collection without having this card, as it is the first appearance ever. It is the rookie card for the Dark Magician Girl, and it is limited to 400 copies. It fetches extremely high prices, around $20,000 for a raw copy, and a PSA 10 can go all the way up to like $75,000, $100,000. Absolutely incredible grail. I know it's out of reach for a lot of people, but for those with big budgets, I highly recommend this card. Those were released in 2001 for tournament pricing, and they have never been eclipsed since. The next copy that I think is worth collecting is when we skip all the way up to 2017 for the World Championships, where they gave us Ghoster Dark Magician Girl. The reason that I think that this card is collectible is because this holo foil pattern is unbelievable. It is 100 times better than the TCG, and not only that, it's limited to 2,500 copies. So you have an extremely low number with a very unique rarity, and it's a prize card. What more could you ask for? If we go 1 year after that to 2018, we have, in my opinion, the best looking Dark Magician Girl of all time. The card that I'm talking about is the 20th anniversary Dark Magician Girl. This card is gorgeous. Like, I cannot say enough good things, and it has come down in price like crazy. Like, this card was so nice that when it was first released, I think it retailed for like 60 bucks, and then within like 2 years it shot up to like $2,000 in PSA 10. It went completely bonkers. Now it has come back down, is completely crashed, honestly, and you can get PSA 10s for like $400 to $500. You can get the raw card for like $100, $150. Cannot recommend this card enough. Absolutely gorgeous. Highly recommend it for your collection. What's really unique about this card compared to the QCR is, number one, it's a lot lighter. Like, the way that the holo foil looks, it's just not as dark. And then the best part is the text for the name is actually like legible. Like, you can actually make out what the characters are. I know a lot of you guys can't read it, but the TCG text is pretty much braille, bro. Like, it's unreadable. I don't really like it, and I'm a huge fan of the red text that they used in the 20th anniversaries. Another variant that I really like of the anime artwork is the Rush Duel promo that came out with the video game. This card is dumb cheap. It's like 15 bucks or something like that, but it is so nice. I cannot say enough good things about it. It is the anime artwork, but it's a little bit more extended. Highly recommend it. Definitely think you should pick it up. Very cheap, and it's like incredibly unique. Like, we don't have anything like it in the TCG. And then the last two variants that I recommend picking up for this card is the Japanese Quarter Century Secret Rare, as well as the Ultimate Rare that just released in the Pride and Unity sets. These two cards are very cheap. I think the Ulti is like 15 bucks, and then the Quarter Century is like $70. They look absolutely incredible. Great budget options, and in my opinion, they're worthy of your collection as well. But that pretty much wraps up the anime art, okay? That was incredibly exhausting. That was like the most amount of cards on this list. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Let's move on to the second artwork ever released on the TCG, and that's what I call the tin artwork. This one is very easy. There is only one release in holo foil in the TCG, and that is the secret rare from the original tins. That's the only one worth collecting in my opinion. This card never had any alternatives in the TCG as well for secret rare, so it's not really that expensive anyway. It's like 50 bucks. You can pick it up, add it to your collection, and call it a day. Let's move on to something a little bit more challenging, and that is what I call the Dark Magician art. Why do I call it that? Well, it's because the pose that Dark Magician Girl takes is pretty much identical to the pose that the Dark Magician takes in his original appearance in Starter Deck Yugi. I think it adds a lot more identity to this card, knowing that this is what it's actually trying to mimic. But the first release for this card was not until 2009, and that was in the Duelist Pack Yugi first edition booster boxes. It was a lackluster release. I do wish we got to see this card in secret rare. However, all we got was a super rare. A cheaper alternative for this card is like this combo pack that was released later on, I think 2015, 2016. It was like Duelist Pack Yugi and Kaiba, and you would be able to get like this card in there. However, it's coded differently. So it's coded as DPBC while the original was DPYG. But there is like an unlimited version of the first edition, so that's also a cheaper alternative as well. Another super rare variant that I think is worth including here is the dual terminal. So this is a dual terminal rare, but it is a super rare as well. So I don't know where to put it, so I just put it under super rare. That one is also extremely unique, and that was only released in dual terminal 6 in 2012. Personally, I think DPYG first edition is the only copy that's worth collecting for this artwork, unfortunately. However, if you want to collect an ultra rare variant of this, there was a release in Legendary Dex Yugi, and that was in 2015. It's dumb cheap, you don't have to worry about cost on that one. And there is like an alternative to that, and that was Legendary Dex 3, and that was basically the same thing as an ultra rare. However, it has like the modern layout, so the stars are hollow foil as well as the attribute sign. Some really cool extras for this though is a secret rare version that came out in Korea exclusively. I think that this card is gorgeous in secret rare. It's a damn shame we didn't get it in the TCG, but if you want a secret rare variant, it is available in Korean. Another cool release for this is on the Japanese side. They got a ghost rare version, and we never got anything like that in the TCG. The last release of this artwork that I think is worth mentioning is the Rush Duel promo. Just like the original Dark Magician Girl anime art, we got another promo with this artwork on it, and in my opinion, it's unique enough to add to your Dark Magician Girl collection. But that's pretty much the Dark Magician artwork. The next artwork that I want to talk about is the one that came out in 2016 alongside the film. This is what I call the movie artwork, and this one, in my opinion, is actually kind of lackluster. Like, I actually don't like the designs that they used for the film all that much. I honestly think that it doesn't even look like the Dark Magician Girl that we know. But anyway, on the TCG side, we had 3 different releases. There was the ultra rare, which was the initial release in 2016. I would say that that's the most collectible version because it's the hardest to grade. And then there's the secret rare and gold version. Skip the gold version obviously, but the secret rare is gorgeous. If you want a really nice cheap copy, I think it's like 10 bucks for this card. Definitely an add to the collection. There is no high rarity of this card though, so like the maximum you're gonna pay is like $10. On the Japanese side though, this is one of the most expensive Dark Magician Girls out there because the 20th secret rare is like $700-800, dude. Like, this card is very, very rare, and it's loved by a lot of people on the eastern side of the world. It comes in 20th secret rare and 25th. The 25th is a lot cheaper than the 20th. The 20th is by far one of the most expensive DMGs that exists in the modern day. But that's the movie art. Now let's move on to one of my favorite releases, and that is the Lost Art. So this card was initially released in the Shonen Jump Anniversary Pack on the Japanese side. However, when it came to the TCG side, we got the same exact booster packs, except they left this card out. I'm pretty sure it's because the card is very hard to censor. Like the way that she was sitting on her staff, she was holding up the Mono Cornuto sign. It just had a lot of stuff on it that I think Konami deemed just like way too hard to release in the TCG at the time. But in 2020, for some reason, they lifted the ban on this artwork and they gave it to us in the Lost Art form. This card is an original Kazuki Takahashi artwork. So what that means is it has the signature at the bottom right as well as no border for the image. And this was released in the peak of COVID, so it was very hard to get your hands on these cards. They ended up releasing a cheaper alternative, a rewave of this card, and it was coded a different code. So the original was LART-EN019. This one was 035. This was 1 year later, and the way that you differentiate between the two other than the set code is that the reprint had a border around the artwork, which in my opinion was a really good move on Konami's part to protect the collector. But other than those two and then the initial Japanese variant, there has been no release of this artwork. Alright, we're in the final stretch and we have a couple more artworks to go through. The next one that I want to talk about is the initial manga appearance or the standing artwork. This is by far my favorite Dark Magician Girl artwork. However, it got terrible treatment, man. This card was released in 2022 in the History Archive collection as an ultra rare. The debut artwork was an ultra rare. Can you believe? Oh my goodness. Like, it's just, oh my god. I don't know what Konami's thinking. Anyway, this was a Japanese release initially, and then it came over to the TCG, and they did not even give it an ultra rare treatment. They gave it a prismatic secret rare. And if you know anything about the TCG prismatic secret rares, they look like trash, man. They completely destroyed this artwork. It's my absolute favorite. It's the first appearance of her in the manga, so it's even before the anime, and they absolutely butchered this release. I really hope they give us a high rarity chase version of it, but I really doubt it. It's so unfortunate what happened to this card. It initially started off very strong on the Japanese side, but they printed so many of them that they pretty much destroyed the value. And then on the TCG side, it just looks like garbage, so it's not really worth anything anyway. The next art that I want to talk about is probably my second favorite, and I'm so glad that they released it this year in quarter century. I think it's going to be absolutely memorable. It just has a lot going for it in the future. This is what I call the Unity artwork. So this card was released in quarter century Pride and Unity, and I made a whole video covering this, like right here. You can check it out if you want to go into more depth. They released a lot of alternate arts in that set, which I am so proud of Konami for doing, bro. I am so happy that they did this. Anyway, the Dark Magician girl in here is one of the best looking DMGs ever. Her suit looks absolutely mesmerizing, and the way that she's posed just looks fantastic. I think it's a great card. I highly recommend it for your collection. They're actually releasing a TCG variant, but unfortunately they're giving it the History Archive standing manga art treatment, and it's gonna be in prismatic secret rare. It's not gonna be getting the quarter century secret rare, at least from what it seems like. I hope that they do give it. I don't know, bro. Like, Konami, I just don't trust Konami TCG. Back to the Japanese side. The Japanese side came in two different variants. The first one was the one that you can pull from the pack, and that one goes for around like $600-700. There's another version that comes in a limited 1,000 copies, and that basically you acquire through a token that you pull from the booster packs. You put the token code into the Konami website, and they mail you a promo card with the Dark Magician girl and the Dark Magician variant that never got released, with a circle in the background that basically, like, they complete each other. Masterpiece. Okay, masterpiece release. This card is fetching $3,000 alongside the Dark Magician. Like, it comes in an incredible display. Like, it's just a masterpiece release overall. By the way, look out for an unboxing on the channel for this product, as well as the Pride version. Absolutely killer set. These four cards are gonna go down in history as the best product release in the quarter century celebration, whatever you want to call it. That is the Unity. You can look out for that in the TCG if you don't like collecting Japanese cards, but if you do like collecting Japanese cards, I recommend both the pack version as well as the, you know, prize card version, whatever you want to call it. The last two copies of Dark Magician Girl that I want to talk about is one completely original art, but it's not really Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, or it's not really the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game. It is the Over Rusher from Rush Duel. This card is completely brand new artwork, exclusive to Rush Duel, and in my opinion, it looks like a home run. I think the eyes are a little too far apart, but otherwise, I think the pose is fantastic. I think a lot of people really like it, and in the aftermarket, it shows because it's fetching a lot of money. The card goes for like $700-800. It's one of the most expensive Rush Duel cards. It's an alternate art of DMG that we have not seen before. I think it's worthy of being added to your collection. And then last but not least, again, it's not really Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. It's also not really Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG. The cards that I'm talking about is called the DDM, or the Dungeon Dice Monsters Dark Magician Girls. I made a whole video in depth about this, but basically there's 3 different artworks, 3 different rarities. They come randomized in a set of 3 in the booster packs, and these cards are extremely collectible because, first of all, they're not even Yu-Gi-Oh! Size, by the way. They're like Pokemon size, so it's really cool, and there's 9 of them to collect. Highly recommend it. Check out the video for more in-depth information. But that's pretty much it. This is pretty much every single Dark Magician Girl that was ever released. This was a lot of work, a lot of research. Hopefully you guys really liked it, and hopefully you guys are able to start your own Dark Magician Girl journey. If you guys are interested in seeing how far I am, you guys guys can check out this video here. If you guys want more of these types of videos, make sure you support me by going to strictlysealedinc or patreon.com/strictlysealed. Every penny that you guys send me goes towards paying the editors, so I really appreciate your help. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed and I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.